You know, I took a plane trip last week to go meet with President Trump, and something happened when I was boarding the plane. I was first on the plane. The captain comes out to the galley, says, "Hey, I thought that was you. I appreciate your service to the country. I hope you come back." He goes, "But I got a question for you." He goes, "Why are you always pissed off? I see on TV you're upset. I see you talk in front of Congress, you're upset." I said, "Because I'm pissed off." So I want to talk about the border and why I'm pissed off and why the border isn't just a crisis of the day. We've had crises on the border before. We had a surge in 14, 15. We had thousands coming across back when I was a border patrol agent in the 1980s. But this one is different. This border crisis is the biggest national security vulnerability this country has seen, ever. I've worked for 6 presidents. I say this all the time. I'll keep drilling this down. I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan when I became a border patrol agent. Every president I worked for took steps to secure the border because they clearly understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. You need to know who's coming in, what's coming in, why it's coming in, where it's coming in. We need to do that. No one did better than President Trump. I'm a Trump guy, not ashamed of it. Trump was unprecedented in his success on the southern border. Illegal immigration was down 83 to 90%. Illegal immigration was at a 45-year low. No one had that kind of success. And he did that by himself because Congress certainly wasn't helping him. You had the Republicans, never Trumpers, they weren't helping the first 2 years. We had the House, the Senate, and the White House. And he still had unprecedented success because he was out of the box thinker and he came up with some great executive orders. So every president took steps to secure the border. Even Clinton, Obama took steps to secure the border. But you got to think about the current president. President Joe Biden is the first president in the history of this nation who came into office and unsecured the border on purpose, signing over 90 executive orders, abolishing everything we created under the Trump administration. I wrote an op-ed 6 months before the election for Fox. I said, if Joe Biden becomes president, we lose the border. And man, did the left come out. Homan, there's Homan again, the fear monger, trying to scare people. Well, I just said, look, Joe Biden was running on end ICE detention. I'm going to have an amnesty. We're going to fix DACA. We're going to give free health care to illegal aliens. I mean, you offer them type of promises to the whole world, they're going to come. It didn't take a border expert to understand that. So he unsecured the border on purpose, which has caused the biggest national security crisis I've ever seen. Now, I've been called all kinds of names. I don't give a shit what people think about me. I never have and never will. Because the way they cancel you, well, let's say bad things about them. They won't want to say anything anymore. They're not going to shut me up. Because if they wore my shoes for 34 years and seen the things I've seen, they'd understand me. They might not agree with me, but they'd understand me. Actually, when I go give speeches around the country, if protesters don't show up, I'm kind of disappointed. Because if they show up, it means my message is getting out. I'm emotional about this subject because of my experience doing this job. I started in the Border Patrol in 1984. I became a special agent for a couple of decades, investigating organizations that smuggle and traffic in women and children, and illegal aliens, and drugs and guns. I did it for 20 years. President Trump made me the ICE director under his leadership. It's probably the proudest moment in my life because I was the first director of ICE that actually came up through the ranks. The 20,000 men and women that work for me, I didn't ask them to do anything. I knew myself. The morale at ICE was at an all-time high, not because Tom Homan was a genius, but they had somebody in the front office who did the job, knows how the job is done, knows the difficulties around the job. That's what made one of the things that made President Trump great. He put people in place that knew what they were doing. And again, I'm not a genius, but I did the job for 30 years. I get upset because this administration will call Trump, myself, you guys are white nationalists, you're racist, your policies are inhumane. Let's look at that for a second. Doctors Without Borders did a study, said 31% of women that make that journey through cartels get sexually assaulted. 31% of women admitted it. How many actually got assaulted? Think about that for a moment. 31% admitted sexual assault. So let me ask you a question. When President Trump had illegal immigration down 83%, when 83% less people were coming, how many women weren't being raped? How many children didn't die crossing the border? How many pounds of fentanyl didn't get into the country to kill Americans? How many known suspected terrorists didn't get into the country because the Border Patrol is 100% on the line, vigilant, doing their job? How many women and children weren't sex trafficked? I don't want to hear this bullshit that the policy was inhumane. President Trump's policy saved lives, thousands of lives. The wall saves lives. The walls work. Every place they build a border barrier, illegal immigration decrease, illegal drug flow decrease. The best thing about the wall is the most vulnerable people, the women and children that can't climb the wall, means they're going to go to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting for them? The men and women wearing green, whose first responsibility is taking care of the humanitarian needs and the medical needs. President Trump's policy saved lives. Now let's look at Joe Biden's policy, who they say much more humane. Over 2,200 illegal aliens have died crossing the border since he took the White House. There's a 600% increase in sex trafficking of women and children. At last count, 381 people on terrorist watch lists were arrested trying to cross the border. Almost twice as many on the northern border. 148,000 dead Americans from fentanyl is flowing across the open border. Cartels are making billions of dollars a year. Joe Biden's policies are killing Americans at record numbers. They're killing illegal aliens at record numbers. His policies aren't humane. That is the truth. Stone cold truth. And what's happening on the border now? They say the border numbers are down. They've come down for several reasons. The first reason is they take thousands of people who enter illegally and decide to bring them to a port of entry on what they call CBP-1 app, a legal pathway, which isn't legal. I think Mark will agree with me on that. And it's in litigation. But look, they're playing a shell game. They'll take thousands of people who normally enter illegally, bring them through a port of entry, call that legal entry. That way, they don't have to come as a legal entry. Then they create the CHNV program, Cuba, Nicaragua, Haiti, and Venezuela. They fly them directly from their countries into our American airports, call that a legal pathway. So yeah, the numbers are down when you play a shell game and move thousands in different programs and call it legal. Now, the illegal entries are down somewhat. And why? Because Mexico stepped up. Why is Mexico all of a sudden stepping up? Because they don't want Trump. Then the gravy train's over. The cartels are playing the game. I look at the daily numbers, they're right around 2,500. Is that a coincidence? Did this administration put a target 25? No, the cartels are playing the game too. They want to keep Biden in power. And I guarantee you, day one, if his next administration, if he was to win, we're back to business as usual because the cartels want to make their billions of dollars. The Mexican government, Mexican law enforcement, Mexican military, many of them want to keep collecting their bribes. Mexico is not our friend when it comes to border security. Mexico don't want to fix this problem. Last year, they got $71 billion in remittances from the United States, people who are illegally sending money home. It's against the law in Mexico to traffic in women and children, but they're not enforcing it. It's against the law to transit through Mexico if you're from a foreign nation without a transit visa, but they're allowing it. Don't be fooled what's going on right now. Joe Biden could have fixed this 3.5 years ago. He could have just left everything untouched, just continue the Trump policies. Well, he purposely abolished all those policies and created the crisis we see today. Why did he wait now to fix it or try to address it? Because of the election. That's the only reason. Meanwhile, thousands of people have died. Thousands. I get pissed off because in my 34 years, I've actually talked to little girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by the cartel. When you drop to your knees, you look in the eyes of a 9-year-old little girl who had everything innocent and pure stolen from her at the hands of pigs. Her life will never be the same. When you stand in the back of a tractor trailer like I did with 19 illegal aliens at your feet, including a 5-year-old little boy, all baked to death, because they're trapped in a steel box at 180 degrees. What a horrific death. When you hold dying children, when you hold dead children, which I've done throughout my career, it hardens you. That's why I'm pissed off. Because when President Trump was president, deaths were significantly down. Sex trafficking significantly down. The rape of children and women down. And this administration came in and turned it back on. While we're sitting here today, right now, while you're sitting there listening to me, women are being sexually assaulted by cartels on the Mexican border. It's happening right now. A child will die today on the border. Women and children can be sex trafficked into the United States. They'll get away. They'll be forced into sexual slavery or some sort of forced job or labor. HSI ICE has already found many children working in meatpacking plants as young as 7 years old, cleaning up entrails of animals that were slaughtered that day on the midnight shift. Over 400,000 children have crossed the border under Joe Biden, and they can't find 100,000 of them. Based on my 34 years, I'm telling you right now, many of these children are in forced labor. Many of these children are living with predators. Many of these children are going to appear in pornographic movies. Many of these women are forced into prostitution because the cartels control them. If they don't do what they tell them to do, they'll kill their family back in their homeland. That's what this administration's done. So there's the secret. That's why Tom Homan's pissed off. Because we had this locked down. And I tell you what, Washington Post can do all the stories they want me about. Tom Homan deport people is really good at it. They ain't seen shit yet. Wait till 2025. I apologize, but I probably shouldn't say the S word. My wife tells me to stop saying it, and I just, like I said, I don't bring notes. I just go with my heart because of my experience, what I've done, what I've seen. I want to end with this about this border crisis is historic. Millions, never seen before numbers, right? And lately the press has been, oh, Trump's going to do a historic deportation operation. What a terrible thing to say. What a racist thing to say. No, it's not. On the hands of a historic illegal immigration crisis where millions of people have entered this country illegally or been released into the United States by this administration illegally, here's what you need to know. If you look at the immigration court data, EOIR, over the last decade, nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the southern border will never get relief from U.S. courts because they simply don't qualify or they don't show up in court. Asylum is about escaping fear and persecution from your home government because of race, religion, political affiliation, or participation in a specific social group. These people are coming from a better life. I get that. But it ain't asylum. So 9 out of 10, it's actually, I think it's 86.7 last time I looked, but nearly 9 out of 10 will get an order removal. We have to remove them. What's the option? Don't execute the final order from the judge? Because if that's the answer, then what the hell are we doing? Shut down immigration court. Take the border patrol off the border. If we're not going to enforce the law and have consequences for violating our law, what the hell are we doing? So when people say it's ridiculous to have a historic, you've got to have a historic deportation operation on the heels of historic illegal immigration where 9 out of 10 are going to get order removal. And I kind of agree with you a little bit. I still think, Tom Homan, we need to prioritize national security threats because we know they're here by the thousands. So we do have to prioritize some people, but I agree with you in one aspect, no one's off the table in the next administration. If you're here illegally, you better be looking over your shoulder. I didn't drive for 120 miles an hour today because I don't want to get a ticket. I don't lie on my taxes because I don't want to go to jail. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's not okay. When I became the ICE director, first testimony I did, man, did I take hate for 2 weeks on the left. Tom Homan said during testimony, if you're in the country illegally, you need to be looking over your shoulder. You're damn right. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It is a crime. If you get deported, come back, it's a felony. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. There's a right way and wrong way to be a part of the greatest nation on earth. And what no one's talking about, why they're letting millions of illegal aliens in there, release them illegally, in my opinion, into the United States, there are millions of people standing in line taking their tests, doing their backgrounds, paying the fees to be part of the greatest nation on earth. I'm not anti-immigrant, never have been. I'm anti-illegal immigration because I understand the whole ugly underbelly of what happens to these people. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. I'll leave you with this final thought on the border. I want to foot stomp this. This is the biggest national security vulnerability in nation history. Why do I say that? Well, I always say the rest of over 380 people on terrorist watch lists coming across the southern border. We have 2 million known gotaways. 2 million people cross this border. They paid more to get away. You pay the cartels one amount of money to get to the border. Their job's over. Get you to the border, turn yourself into a green uniform, job done. But if you want to get away, you got to pay them a hell of a lot more to get you to Chicago or New York and not get arrested by the Border Patrol. Why did 2 million people pay more not to be released in 24 hours, not to get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, not to get free hotel room, not to get 3 squares a day, not to get work authorization? Why did 2 million people pay more not to have the giveaway program? It doesn't take a genius. They don't want to be vetted. They don't want to be fingerprinted. Border Patrol's arrested people from 181 different countries. Many of these countries sponsor terror. If you don't think a single one, that 2 million didn't come here to blow something up or harm this country, then you're a moron. Biggest national security vulnerability I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm telling you right now, I've said it before, something's coming. You don't have 57,000 Chinese military-aged males enter the country without the cooperation of the Chinese government. That just don't happen in China. 32,000 Russians. We have people from Iraq, Syria, Turkey, Uzbekistan. We just stopped 8 from committing a terrorist event. Our intelligence community is not perfect. Thank God they got this one. But God help us and what this administration's caused. So you got my word. Trump comes back in January, I'll be on his heels coming back, and I will run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen.